Hi everyone, so today I'm doing the Chisel Nib challenge, which is where on markers usually you'll have a chisel nib and on the other side you'll have a bullet nib or a brush nib. I have Copics and I use my brush nib all the time. In fact, the only time I ever use my chisel nib, aside from this challenge, is if my pen is running out of ink and the chisel end is the only end of the last little bit of ink left in it. So definitely a challenge for me. So as you can see there, I just did like a blue background and trying to do flat colour was really annoying me. And with this paper, if you saturate it with ink too much, it will start getting weird white splotches. So I couldn't keep going over it like forever. So I kind of settled with this. It's not perfect, but it's better. I should explain the piece. The concept for this piece is it's a girl laying down on so the thing behind her is a blanket. You'll see later on I add some pattern to it so it doesn't look like a sky or anything. But yeah, so she's laying down on a blanket and she's looking up at the stars. And her freckles on her face are like stars as well. So I'm colouring in the hair, and at first I was finding it really difficult, but then I found that some of my browns, this probably isn't a good thing, but some of my browns have really bad chisel nibs and they don't do flat lines when you run them across the paper. They do lots of little thin lines because the surface of the nib is really bumpy, which would be bad, but for hair that was really handy because it was really good getting in like the perfect hair texture. So I genuinely think this was like my favourite hair that I've ever done with Copics, and I will definitely be using my chisel nibs again after this, knowing what a good result they can do, at least for hair. It did take quite a bit of work though blending the colours together. I do quite heavily rely on the fact that brush nibs have a nice natural blend as they phase between thick and thin. Chisel nibs don't do that, so it takes quite a lot more work. For the line art for this, I don't think I am going to redo it, but this is a printed line art. I did the line art by hand and I then copied it because I was really scared I was going to ruin the piece because I really like the concept for this. And I assumed that I was going to make an awful piece of art for this, but I don't think it came out too bad. It definitely exceeded my expectations, so I might do it again with brush nibs on the original line art, but I'm not sure. As you may have noticed, I haven't noticed yet in the speed paint, but there's only bottom eyelashes on one eye. So I'll sort that out later on, but that was a bad mistake. Come on, Jasmine. Look at your art a bit closer, Jesus. I really didn't like cleaning up any mistakes with the chisel end of the colourless blender. I'm really, again, used to using the brush nib to perfectly kind of go along the edges, and the chisel nib just didn't have the accuracy that I was used to. But it was helpful for those lines on the blanket. Obviously they're not meant to be straight because it's kind of meant to be like a blanket on like a bumpy field, so I wasn't going for super straight because then it wouldn't look like what it's meant to. The skin was definitely the hardest part for me, no doubt at all. I always stress over doing skin. I always want to do like the smoothest blending and everything, and you just can't do that with chisel nibs. So it also didn't help that the skin colours I planned to use for this are the mid-tone its chisel nib has kind of gone weird and the ink isn't coming out of it properly, so I couldn't use that colour. So I really winged it and it didn't really turn out very good. I think it's about now that I realise that I've messed up the eyelashes, and as you can tell, distracted by the fact that I've messed up the eyelashes, I used my brush nib, so I'm going over it again with my chisel nib so that I'm not getting the nice straight line that the brush nib gave me. And I don't know if you saw because it sped up really quick, but I just kind of put my hands out in frustration of just, what are you doing? What's wrong? It's a chisel nib challenge. But I'd just come back to it that day. That was the first time I'd done it, and I just noticed the eyelashes as well, so I just wasn't thinking. But I do completely go over that area with a load more chisel nib stuff, so I don't feel it affected the outcome of the piece, so I'm not too mad at myself. I don't feel like I really benefited from it, so I wouldn't count it as cheating. It didn't improve anything at all, because I went all over it again when I realised I wanted to darken up her skin tone, so as you can see, I just did that. She was a lot paler a couple of seconds ago, and then I decided nope, and I went over it with a darker colour to try and sort out the blending. It still hasn't gone amazing, but that's the chisel nib challenge. Trying to do another area of flat colour. Also trying to shade accurately. I really have like no accuracy. I don't know where the ink's gonna go when I use a chisel nib, because it's just not as obvious and it's not a straight point, and there's kind of like weird angles on the chisel nib and I just don't know what's happening. It's really quite frustrating. Like I end up going out the lines a couple of times and then having to like, because the other areas are already coloured in, I've just got to extend it and hope for the best. Just colouring in her lips and mouth. Yeah, I forgot to mention that. Because I didn't record it, I inked over her eyes, so they're darker, which is good because when I copied the line art, the eyes were lighter for whatever reason, and then I also added in the extra eyelashes, so that's not gone anymore. Now I'm using my colourless blender to lighten up some freckles on her face. I use a polychromo pencil to add a kind of glow around that. And then we've got my jelly roll to make the stars. So you've got like glowing stars on her face instead of freckles. And I think it looks really cool. You might be able to tell, well you will, because at this point in the video you'll definitely have a scan up. But there's a reflection of a shooting star in her earrings and eyes. I think that's a nice little touch to add to it. Yeah, I'm really pleased with this piece. It was a nice concept and it was a good challenge, I think. It's kind of a nice balance of it is difficult and it's something I've never done before, with also it's not going to completely ruin my art, so definitely could have done it better with brush nibs, but there you go, that's the point of the challenge, isn't it? So thank you for watching. If you like this video, give me a like. I'll link the challenge videos playlist in a card somewhere so you can watch that, and thank you for watching.